Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach, and here we talk about overlanding, gear builds, tech, all kinds of stuff related to modifying your vehicle. Today I want to talk to you in a really short video, but I had this issue on my James Baroud tent. I don't know if it was due to when I had my extreme winter camping or what, but there was a time where I cracked the lower shell, but not the upper shell, and I don't really know when or why it happened, but it did. And I talked to James Baroud. They're like, yeah, that's really cold temperatures for an ABS shell. What they have done is essentially made the trade-off between a metal or a fiberglass or a plastic shell so that they can keep the tent lightweight, because their fabric is so thick and durable that it adds some extra weight. So they had to sort of take some trade-offs there. A lot of companies just have light fabric, but their fabric is heavier. So I've got a plastic shell on my James Baroud Odyssey M, and I had to replace that lower plastic shell. So I'll kind of first talk a little bit about installing that, because it wasn't a straightforward process, but it wasn't that complicated either. I kind of had to play around with some things. James Baroud, I don't think it would ever really put you in this situation. Like, they've got really good customer service. They'll just take care of you. But I was like, I want to try this, see if I can replace it myself. So they sent me out just a shell to try and do the work myself. So I did that. I'll kind of talk through that. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about a new crossbar setup. I talked with Sherpa. I talked with James Baroud. It's not quite perfect, but I think it's about as good as I'm going to get to sort of use some wider crossbars on my Sherpa rack so that the tent doesn't have as much flex, because in the manual for the Odyssey tents, they have a minimum crossbar width, and I was under that by about 2 to 3 inches on each side. And so they thought that maybe, you know, when I was sleeping in the tent, it would droop down, or if I was mobbing on the trail, it would kind of do this flapping thing on the sides, because it's just not as taut, since the plastic can give and bend. And maybe that's to my benefit, but if it's cold outside, maybe it makes it more brittle to where it could crack. So I don't know that they've really ran into some of these issues when they are, seeing customers using them in more moderate climates. But because I do some winter camping, I live here in Minnesota where sometimes it gets down into the negative degrees. This is a thought that I have, so I'm going to sort of show you that setup that I did to try and compensate for this. So anyways, that's kind of what we're talking about. This is a little bit of tent maintenance, kind of keeping my James Baroud tent up to snuff. But what's kind of crazy is I've had the tent now for maybe a year and a half. I think this upcoming spring it'll be 2 years. So I've been running the tent for a while, still really like it. It's a comfortable tent. And I've got a discount code actually for James Baroud. I typically put that in my description, but if you're interested in these tents, go check them out. They got all the fun bells and whistles, and they're comfortable. All right, well, let's jump right into the video, and I'll start talking you through some of this stuff. So I wanted to remove the lower shell here and really just show some shots of the cracks. So some of these cracks were larger than others, and some of them even spanned where the running rails or those aluminum extruded rails for mounting are. And so I wanted to kind of point some of this stuff out. Some of the footage isn't super great, but just wanted to share what it looks like before I replace the lower shell. So my install of the new lower shell isn't fully comprehensive, because essentially you'll see here soon, I removed the lower shell and I threw the upper shell and all the tent fabric on this hoist system that I have that goes into my hitch. And so when I do the install of the new shell, it kind of picks up from there. But basically all we did was remove the lower ABS part and then brought the rest of the tent back down to reattach. So that's what I'm kind of gonna go through here now and show you the brackets and fabric and how to put it back on. All right, Jake's working on putting some tape on the back of these brackets, but I'm currently working on replacing the bottom piece of my James Baroud tent. So I got a big crack in mine, and so I'm just replacing the bottom instead of the whole tent, and we're working on putting on the brackets. So first we got to mount these brackets up to this inside T-channel. These brackets, there's 4 of them for each corner, and they hold the gas struts that help lift the tent. So we've got these in place. They basically will pinch this aluminum metal pole that runs the length of the front and the back. So we'll put this on, and then you tighten up this one nut. And I'm leaving these loose so that I can align everything with the exterior of the tent, and then we'll tighten them down eventually. So working on this. Now we just got to pull down this front piece and kind of get it clicked in. All right, Jake. I'm thinking we start with the front and then go to the back. So pull this down, and I think we do the sides first and then we do the middle. What do you think? Does this sound good to you?
Yeah, try it.
Okay. I'm gonna need to lower my crank, yeah. Let's lower that first. What? Maybe lift on this right here, Jake. Can you lift on these metal pieces?
I can lift on there, yeah.
Okay, you wanna do that? Oh, I can hold this side so you can shift your hand. There we go. Cause then I'll...
Wait. Oh.
Gosh, this...
Will not stay.
Yeah, it's... This plastic piece just like shoved it in. So it's sitting in the spot it's supposed to. I just gotta figure out how to... There. Yeah, the big thing is just keeping it off that white foam. I don't even think you need to hold it in place. I just want to make sure it doesn't poke a hole through the foam. That's the big thing. All right. Let me tighten this down here and then I'll come over. Is that like letting you start the nut in there?
Oh, I'm trying to get the bracket down first without getting the screw pushed back in.
Oh, you need my help or do you got it?
I think I just pushed the screw.
What I ended up doing was catching the screw, and then once you catch it with the nut, it won't push all the way through, and then you can push the bracket on. Oh my.
We will be here all week, huh?
Of course. Can you get that nut started on there?
Try.
I'm holding the bolt physically, so you shouldn't have any problem pushing on there. If you can just get it started too, we can tighten it with the wrench.
There we go.
Nice. There we go. Sweet. Good work, Jake.
No holes.
No holes. That's pretty awesome. All right, so here's the bracket. We've got the little plastic piece inserted in there, and then that nut needs to just be tightened down a little farther, but we've got this one, and then there's that one support in the middle. We just got that on here on this aluminum bar, and now we just got done doing this side. These wrap around these, and you can just remove them. They've got some Velcro on them, so you just pull that off, and this clip is on elastic, so you can actually completely undo it if you want, but it's not too hard to work around. Okay, so we've skipped forward a little bit here because we're kind of testing out fitment, but essentially what we've done so far is we've just got the fabric placed all around, and each of these pieces have this little plastic insert backing, and it hooks under a lip on the outside here, and then it will sit flush with this lower rail. And now we're gonna put some T-nuts all along through it that will pinch this in place and hold it where it needs to be. So that's the next step that we're on. What we just first did was put all the fabric on and zip everything up, make sure that everything is fitting tight, and then we're gonna clamp it down. Instead of trying to figure out and how to fit the arms or the struts for each corner, I just measured in 5 inches from this outside edge on the inside, and that worked really well. So that's how we were able to get all the arms centered, and then we didn't have to do new fitment. That's just what we did. So, all right, now we're gonna put these little T-nuts on, and the fabric should be completely installed and the bottom piece replaced. So let's keep on moving. I've got a James Baroud Odyssey M, and it has a minimum crossbar length required. And so here I was able to retrofit some wider crossbars than my Sherpa rack using Sherpa's riser brackets. And this so far has worked out great. However, the feet that mount these crossbars to the bottom of the tent provided a little extra space, and so there wasn't a tight seat from the tent on top of the crossbar. Luckily, I was able to fill in this gap with some really rigid rubber spacers, and this provided some anti-squeaking for when I'm going down a trail and the tent is rattling on the roof rack. And then I was able to mount the tent up onto the roof. Really doesn't add too much height to the mount, and it is much more solid than it was prior. So overall, I'm really happy how this mounted up, and I think it'll take a lot of the flex out while also providing a solid mounting.
Here's another angle. You can just kind of see, like, there's a little gap between the crossbar and the tent. So I'm going to close that off and add this as spacing in there. Okay, so I've got my crossbars here, and I actually had to take a couple off. You can kind of see here, if we get a little closer, I've been putting these rubber pieces, they're 1/8 inch thick. I'll link it down below. I also had one of these rollers laying around for window flashing, so I'm using that to kind of apply it. But I needed a teeny little gap filler, but this will also really work nicely to try and prevent any rattling, and should keep it tight when it's mounted up.
All right, well, that's what the tent looks like kind of mounted up on the vehicle. Just wanted to do some of this install and repair, replacement work, try and get the setup a little bit more dialed into how it was originally designed to be used. Try and follow the rules here a little bit, but got it all set up. Feel free to drop any questions down below. Appreciate James Baroud and Sherpa for supporting me as usual. They're both big supporters of my channel and the work that I've been doing for a number of years now. So shout out to both of them, just to let you guys all know that they support me. And yeah, thanks for your support. I appreciate you continuing to tune into the channel. Sort of looking towards the future, I've got a couple of maybe cool projects on the horizon. I'm trying to sort out all the details for them, set up space in my garage, because I'm gonna probably need the space for a longer term project. And maybe it'll incorporate my rooftop tent that I've been building off and on. I don't know, we'll have to see. Stay tuned, we got more stuff coming. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video.